These are throwing stars.
These are throwing stars. They come in a range of different shapes and sizes, and in this video I'm going to be learning how to use them, and also about them. But there's a problem. Where am I going to use them? Because, well, I don't have anything to hit. You see, last time I did a video using a bow and arrow, I shot my tree, and my mum wasn't very happy about that. So this time I've made this. This is just a target. If you want to see me make it or learn how to make it yourself, it's at the end of the video. But first, enjoy throwing stars.
Alright, so how do we hold a throwing star? Well, we're going to grab the throwing star by one of the points, pull it back over our shoulder, and throw. And that's pretty much all there is to it. There isn't that much skill behind how to use one, but getting good at using them is another story.
Now since we've established how to throw a star, it's time to make it a little bit harder. I'm putting up this target board to show a reference of where I should be trying to hit. Now let's get into throwing them. Now my whole goal for this video is trying to land bullseye. You may be wondering, why is there already holes in the board? Well, I've used this board in the past. So I grabbed my first star, lined it up, and got bullseye. I narrowly got the very edge of the circle, but I wasn't done there. I wanted to master this skill, but unfortunately, I just kept messing up. You see, if you don't throw the star in the right way, it will just bounce off the board, and it happened a lot.
Alright, so the throwing stars. They're fun, they're really good, and I was trying my hardest to get a bullseye. I mean, I got that fluke shot as my first one, but that was a bit of a fluke. I tried a lot and really hard for a long time to try and get another bullseye. I got close, very close actually. A little bit too close to give up. But anyway, alright, now while I throw these, I'm going to tell you a quick little history about throwing stars. The shuriken, or throwing star, was an old Japanese weapon used by the samurai and ninja. It acted as a hidden dagger used to distract or misdirect the enemy. Throwing stars were used on the exposed part of the body. Because they're a small little weapon, they don't have the advantage of a sword being able to strike your opponent from good distance away. So, to do this, you would aim towards the eyes, face, hands, and feet of your opponent. Although the name says throwing, they were also used as a dagger. You could use them handheld and strike with them. I don't really see how that would work, because I feel like you would just stab yourself in the hand considering it's a star of spikes. But they were also used on the floor. You see, you would lay the shuriken on the floor in hopes that your enemy would step on it. Okay, for the record, throwing stars wouldn't be placed like this. They would normally be placed upright like this, dug into the dirt, but this isn't dirt, and I couldn't shove it between the bricks. I feel like that'd probably break the star, but I pretend it's sticking up when I step on it. Also, I hope you enjoyed my amazing acting. Now, maybe you're asking, Clarrie, why would we want somebody to step on a throwing star? After all, it's just a small little spike. It's more of an inconvenience than dealing serious damage on the bottom of your foot. Well, throwing stars were often doused in poison. This was great for two reasons. Reason number one, well, if you get hit by poison, you're gonna die. Back then, we didn't have great medical supplies and practices, so if you got poisoned, your days were numbered. The second reason, which I think is amazing, is they would cover them in fabric that had been doused in poison, and when they threw it, they'd light it on fire, or do something to it. I'm pretty sure it was lighting it on fire, and it would send out poisonous gas everywhere. I just think that is an amazing invention. If you think about it, it's the first kind of bomb. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, they also covered it in oil. The reason is, if you cover it in oil, set it on fire, when you throw it, you could set a house on fire or burn your victim. Throwing stars were often used hand in hand with other weapons. You would throw the throwing star in order to get out your sword as like a distraction. But it could also be used with other weapons such as karmas, like my last video, which you should go check out. By the way, I promise you the content is getting better. I'm still learning how to do all this YouTube stuff, and my last video wasn't it. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and I can't do it without you guys. Alright, now this next one, I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes sense. So take this with a grain of salt. Is that how the saying goes? Anyway, a throwing star is a throwing device. Now let's say you have conscripts to your army, and they don't know how to throw knives. Well, a throwing star is a lot easier to throw than a knife, trust me, I know. You're, well, 5 times more likely to hit your target depending on how many points a star has. I mean, for this one, there's 6 points, so I guess 6 times more likely. But with a throwing star, it takes a lot less skill than a throwing knife. I don't know if that's one of the reasons it was invented. It'd make sense if it was. If it wasn't, well, that's just a happy coincidence. I mean, take for example, me. I'm just some random guy, and I picked one up and I immediately knew how to use one.
Right, as for making the target, I got this big piece of wood, laid it down, and I went and got these cork mats. I laid them each out on the mat, and even spread across, and I started gluing them down. I just used PVA glue, and then after I put them on the board, I put something heavy over the top. I did the same to all the pieces until they were all laying down with a pot plant on them, and I left them to dry, which took about 24 hours. My next job was to make the legs, so I got out this piece of wood and went to cut it, but I had a bit of problem with the bench I was cutting on. Eventually I got it though, and I started cutting them away. I had to cut 2 legs for this, making sure they were both the same length so then it wasn't wobbly. After finishing the cutting, it was time to make the support beams. I laid down the support beams across the board to make sure they're the same length, but we had a slight problem. One piece was bent. Hopefully that's not going to cause any issues later, I guess we'll see. So we cut them away and started drilling our holes. You see, we needed 2 holes at the end of each piece so that we could connect them all together with nuts and bolts. And this is where we had our only issue of the whole project. That was, I didn't measure twice. I measured once and cut, and I didn't realize I hadn't lined it up properly on one of the pieces. So after putting it all together, I realized it didn't sit well and I had to take it apart and re-drill. So I took out all the nuts and bolts and it was time to re-drill the holes. I only had to re-drill the holes on one piece, so it wasn't too bad of a fix, and now it was time to put it all together. After putting the nuts and bolts back on, it was ready to be attached to the stand. To do this, we lay the stand down and put the legs on the back. We'll be using these hinges to connect it, so we lined up the hinges and started drilling some holes. We then attached the hinges to both sides, and unfortunately I cracked the wood on one piece, but it shouldn't be any damage that won't hold up. And that's it. It was a super easy build, and if you want to make it at home, it's really simple. It's great for if you don't have much space, and great for holding the stars. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.